Hi, my name is Larry Reid. I'm president of the Oakland City Council. I just want to welcome everyone for being here. And I especially want to welcome the mayor for hosting the 7th District Town Hall meeting. This is the last of a series of meetings that she's been holding across the city of Oakland. I just want to give honor and praise to the mayor for taking time out of her busy schedule, and all the city staff for taking out of their busy schedule to come to understand and listen to you about the issues that are impacting the quality of life for all of you here in District 7. And just say that this city is fortunate to have Mayor Quan as mayor of the city of Oakland during this time period. These are some rough times for the city of Oakland, and she is the right person at the right time to bring about some creative, outside-the-box thinking about how to solve these problems that are impacting the city of Oakland. So now, our mayor, Mayor Jean Quan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Isn't this a beautiful auditorium? Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been working very closely with the superintendent. We probably talk every 2 or 3 days, and we've tried to create this partnership to give particularly the young people in this neighborhood hope. Right now at Castlemont, only about 30% of the African American males are graduating. That's not acceptable. We can do better than that as a city. But the schools are going to need our help. They're going to need us to put our arms around the school and literally put our arms around some of these young men. If only 30% of our African American males in this area are graduating from high school, and if there's a 28% unemployment rate, and it's not an excuse, but we're not going to end crime in the city. I mean, that's just the reality. I was in another meeting where people were saying, okay, you got to give more money for police. I said, yeah, we have to do that in the interim, but we also have to resolve the issue and the source of it. It's like the story about the river. Yeah, we're going to pull them out. We also have to go upstream and stop throwing them in. We've got to put our arms around particularly the young men in this community. So I want to talk to you just quickly about 2 initiatives that we're doing, and then I'm going to introduce the city staff. 2 of the initiatives we're doing in Deep East. Well, first of all, there's the economic development, and so pay attention to what's happening at Foothill Square, and then pay attention to what's happening at the Coliseum. Good things are going to happen in both of those areas. We're also doing some direct interventions. So we have the 81st Ave Library, and one of the first things when we've been having the city cabinet and the school district cabinet meet together about every other month, and so we're going to have another meeting soon. At the very first meeting, Tony Smith gave a presentation about some of the demographics of the city, and that's what got ingrained in my brain, that only 30% of our African American males were graduating. And I say that everywhere because it's not just East Oakland's problem, it's all of Oakland's problem. He did another study that sort of blew me away, and is Sarna still here? Pete Sarna, the chief of the school district police. He did a study, and he studied over the last decade, when did we have African and American and other kids shot or murdered in the city over the last decade who are still in school? And it turns out about 80% of them happen on Friday and Saturday nights. And so one of our first exercises between the 2 institutions and the leaders of the 2 institutions is, what are things that we could do together that don't cost more money, but that would provide better services for our kids and for the city? And one of the ideas is that we could open up institutions on Friday and Saturday nights so that there'd be more safe places. So apparently last night at McClymon's gym, there were 85 young men, and we've been growing it slowly. And in a few weeks, how many more weeks, Carmen? In 3 weeks, we're going to be opening the 81st Ave Library on Friday nights until 10 o'clock. And 100 black men have agreed to come in and help mentor. And I believe East Oakland Youth Center is going to open late on Saturday nights. And last night at Rainbow, apparently, we had 85 kids at Rainbow Rec down on International. So we're going to slowly grow it. We're going to make a big announcement of all the summer locations because I'm worried about the summer. And we need to get the young people involved, right? So we're inviting churches to join us. So Allen Temple, I understand, is going to open up their gym, and we're going to have the Housing Authority help pay for some of the work that we're going to do near Lions Creek. And we're going to do as much as we can to provide facilities on Friday and Saturday nights over the next year, and hope that we'll keep some kids safe, that we'll still bring the murder rate down for a 5th year in a row. I know it's gone up, but we're coming down now, and my goal is still to get to the point where we're not looking at double-digit numbers of kids who are murdered every year. And it is going to be tough, but we can do that. We've got to do that. And the only way we can do that, I think, is by giving our young people some hope. And we need, it also means this summer, one of the agreements that Barack Obama had to make to keep the government from closing down is they eliminated the mayor's summer jobs program that used to employ about 400 kids every summer. So I'm looking for everyone. I just sent out a whole bunch of letters to businesses. I'm looking for everyone to find a job that you can give a young person this summer. That's really going to be very, very tough to do, to make up for 300 jobs, but we have to do that. And so I see a couple business people from East Oakland out here. Think about how you can do it. I'm looking at scouring my budget to get small $1,000 internship grants so we can bring them into the city this summer. So basically what I'm saying is it's tough times, but we can do it. But the way we have to do it is literally kid by kid, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. And what you're going to tell us this afternoon in breaking the small groups will help us do that, will help us zero in on where we need to do that. And for those of you in 33 and 34, once the budget's done, I'm going to start coming to your meetings and be working with you on a more detailed basis. So I have a few announcements, a few things, and then I'm going to introduce the cabinet. So first of all, I wanted to thank the East Bay Dragons for being here and helping us coordinate today. So you guys see them. Also, the Men of Valor helped people park and helped open up the building today. Where's this? Okay. And then afterwards, what we decided is it takes too long if we feed you in between, stay afterwards to have something to eat, and or if you have time, the Malcolm X Festival is taking place in San Antonio Park till 7 o'clock tonight. So, but don't leave too early. So I wanted to ask Jolene to come up so I can give him his little proclamation. Jolene provided music not just for you, but for Fruitvale School. So on behalf of the City of Oakland, I'd like to thank you for sharing your remarkable talent. We're thanking you not just for your wonderful playing, but for your excellent academic leadership and achievements and your participation in many school activities. And we want to also thank you because you volunteer at the Chabot Space and Science Center, which I still chair. And he's been a lead youth attorney in the McCullen Court. Now, I don't know if you know about this. This is the youth court, and they're always tougher than the adults. So thank you very much. And basically, with all of those accomplishments, we want to acknowledge and are not surprised that you won the scholarship from the National Association of Negro Musicians. Thank you. Okay, so we tried to bring you a little city hall outside, so if you didn't have a chance to stop, every department has a little table and information and a representative, so this is your chance to complain directly to people who head our different departments. You'll see who the Public Works Director is. He'll tell you about potholes. So I'd like to have our city staff, Lamont Yule, who has been a wonderful interim city manager, had to go meet his wife. We had to give him 1 weekend off. And so he's in Southern California today, but we're going to have everybody else just come up and introduce themselves. These are the people to ask questions from, and we're going to start with Audrey.
Good afternoon. Audrey Jones-Taylor, Director for the Office of Parks and Recreation, where we want you all to come out and play the OPR way, where we play with a purpose.
Hi everyone, Andrea Youngdahl, Department of Human Services, Senior Services, Head Start, Youth, Measure Y, Homelessness, and a whole bunch of other things. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Eric Brashears. I'm the Deputy Chief for the Bureau of Field Operations with Oakland PD.
Good afternoon. I'm Carmen Martinez, Director of your Oakland Public Library. Get a library card. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Vitaly Troyan, Director of Public Works. Take out your cell phones and enter 615-5566. That's our hotline to report potholes. We'll come and fix it. 615-5566.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Gordine. I'm the Human Resources Director.
Hi, everyone. I'm Norma Thompson. I'm here representing Housing and Community Development, and I'm the Housing Manager, Affordable Housing Manager for the City of Oakland. 238-7137. Give me a call.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joe Yu. I'm the Finance Director of the Finance and Management Agency.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike McPherson. I manage the City of Oakland's Business Assistance Center. I'm here today representing Walter Cohen as the Agency Director.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deborah Barnes, Director of the Department of Contracting and Purchasing, where we enforce living wage, local business participation, and Oakland resident employment.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Albano. I manage the Neighborhood Services Division. We're the folks that will help you organize your neighborhood, we'll help you organize your block, and we will help you organize a block party on National Night Out, so mark your calendars for August 2nd. Let's have a great time.
I'm Mark Hoffman, Interim Fire Chief of the Oakland Fire Department. I'm here proudly representing the men and women who proudly serve you in your local firehouses. And since we're giving numbers, 911.
Good afternoon. I'm Rich Fielding, Building Services, Principal Inspection Supervisor. We do permits, we do code enforcement, and we also are under CEDA's guidance, and Walter Cohen. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're about to break up, but before I do that, I wanted to let Alice Spearman, who's our school board member, say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Quan, and thank all of you for coming out. I am your school board director for out here. I want you just to take a moment and look at this auditorium. Many of us I'm a Castlemont alumnus, and many, yay, hey. Ye Castle people have spent many days in here, and we knew what it looked like, but you don't know what it looks like now. This is a state-of-the-art entertainment center, and we want everyone in Oakland to utilize this place. Now, don't think that Paramount is the only place you can go. You can always come out here, utilize this place. We have state-of-the-art sound. We have dressing rooms. You just don't know. Also, let me do my other commercial. These seats are up for sale. So if you want to sponsor a seat, they're $100. Talk to Mr. Mateen Abdul Kwai. He can tell you more. So all Castlemont, I'm asking all Castlemont alumni, we can even do a payment plan, okay? Get you a seat, because we want to maintain this as a state-of-the-art East Oakland Center. I want to also tell you a little bit about what's going on here on this campus. Next year, we're going to bring in a 9th grade class. The 9th grade class is going to be a full class, so it looks like the castle will be back in force as one. We have ramped up our academic expectations and our academic rigor. There are a lot of things going very well here at this campus. We have the East Oakland School of the Arts, we have Leadership Prep, and we have Castlemont Business Information and Technology School, all right here on this campus. We're doing some marvelous things. Our sports teams are #1 and #2, okay? We have a new swim center that we hope Parks and Recs are going to partner with the Oakland Unified School District and have it open for this summer. We're also looking forward to offering swimming as part of PE. And I must say, as a Castlemont alumnus, as a mother of 2 Castlemont alumnus, I am now a proud grandmother of 2 Castlemont students at this time. So folks, if my grandchildren can go here, your children can go here. So we're looking to bring the enrollment of Castlemont up. You need to come visit. The school is safe. The food is okay. You know, we can't give it a 4-star, but we'll survive. We do have closed campus again, so we shouldn't be rolling around. We have some excellent leadership. We have excellent, excellent teachers, and just a myriad of programs. So I'm asking you, for those that have 9th graders that are coming in, check out this school, bring them back into this school, be active in the school, come look. You can come in the doors, you can walk around. You know, you can't aimlessly wander, but come in and see. The school district definitely needs your support as community, because we're facing some huge budget deficits because of our state and our state budget. But I'm going to tell you, we are still in the business of educating children. We are still in the business of having high expectations, and with your help, making sure our children come to school on an almost daily basis, because I know they're not going to make it every day. We wish they could. But if we get them here, we can keep them here. We will be able to educate, and that non-graduation rate will rise. We have to expect that our children from our house will come to school, do their work, and graduate. We have to expect that. The school district is doing its job, and I'm pushing them. You know, I'm kicking them and rolling around and hollering to making sure that the academic rigor is there. But we as community got to remember, we got to get them there. See, they got to get me down. We got to get them there, and we as community got to expect that our children will graduate. So thank you all for coming, and I need to introduce Mr. Mateen Abdul Quan.
Before he starts, how many of you went to this school? Okay, all right, all right. And how many of you have got your names on these chairs yet? Okay, all right. So my husband and I are going to buy 2 chairs, but if you got alumni out here, let's get these alumni to buy these chairs, all right?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Castlemont Community of Small Schools. There's not a whole lot more I can say. All the wonderful people in front of me have said all the things that need to be said. You're right, this is an amazing facility. Our students and our community so deserve it. When you go into the breakout sessions, they're going to be in what we call East Oakland School of the Arts, the small school on this campus of which I am the principal of. When you walk around, you'll see tons of wonderful art in the art galleries. This is the type of stuff that our students are capable of doing. It's unfortunate that we don't have more time, because I would love to introduce you to students who have been accepted to UC Berkeley, UC Davis, UCLA, Morehouse, a ton of CSUs. Our students are leaving here and going on to college and doing wonderful, wonderful things. And don't get the impression that they're not. This is deep East Oakland. Our young people are struggling. Our young people are suffering. It's going to take all of us to come together, from the mayor's office to the Board of Education, to our classrooms, to our homes, to save the lives of these young people. If we don't do it, it won't get done. So make sure the work that we do today is meaningful, sincere, and follow up and do what you say you're going to do. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Beverly Williams. I'm a resident, and I'm also a member of the District 7 Planning Committee. Through input from District 7 residents who attended our planning sessions for this town hall, we came up with a list of priorities, issues for the district. Today, you'll have an opportunity to attend 10 breakout groups to discuss these issues. And it's critical that you use your critical thinking processes for this, because we didn't make it up. We're going by what you asked for. We would like to especially thank all the city employees and other volunteers who are here today to assist in our breakout group discussions. Please choose one breakout session to join. It's on your program. The sessions are located right outside the auditorium to your right. In the East Oakland School of the Arts building, as said before, which is next door. There are ushers and signs posted to guide you so you won't get lost. And the following rooms have been assigned to each group. Blight and Beautification is in room W1. Economic Development is in room N1. Education is in room E1. Health and Environment is in room E3. Infrastructure and Transportation is in room N2. Public Safety is going to be here in the auditorium. Senior Services is in room E2. Social Justice is in room W3. Spanish Group is in room W2. And Youth Empowerment is in room N3. If you have any questions about the location of your breakout group, or our ushers are there to assist you. They'll be in each direction so you won't get lost. That's not very hard to get lost. So if you want to go ahead and get ready to break out now, we are a little bit behind, so we want to try to stay on time. We'll be meeting until approximately 2:35. Someone will come to each group and let you know when it's time to break up.
So what I want to do right now is ask everyone to introduce themselves by telling me your name, where you're from, what district are you from, or what community, and tell me one concern you have about Oakland.
Concern I have with Oakland is like diversity and violence prevention.
I live in West Oakland, and that's in Adele's district, and lived all my life in Oakland. And my main concern is the future of our youth, period. And getting to understand that though we have different issues on this planet, every person equally has the same right on here. And if we don't take care of this earth now, none of those issues are going to matter.
Oh, concern I have with Oakland, I say the trash needs to, it's kind of dirty.
I work at the East Oakland Boxing Association as well. I guess my concern right now is the bus fares. I just received a flyer saying that the youth bus passes will be rising from $15 to $45, I guess, within the next couple of years, and that's really concerning me because I'm a youth.
I'm Richard. I work with the youth, and I just try to help out where I can and see what problems they may have in my district. I live in East Oakland, 108th Avenue, and I go over to the Foothill Square sometime and shop, and I'm hoping that they're supposed to put better, not better, but more stores. They're supposed to build it up a little, and that would be nice.
I work with the youth in my community, and that is a great concern of mine, the youth and youth empowerment, because youth voices are very important. So I'd like to see the youth use their voices more and them to do more things in our community, and also we need to find more things for the youth to do. And that's important to me. And education is very important.
I am the Executive Director of Acta Non Verba Youth Urban Farm Project. We are trying to create a youth-operated urban farm here in District 7 at Tassafaranga to create jobs, to create more food access in the community. My main concern right this second is the almost 40% dropout rate here in Oakland.
And I was so glad to hear about how the churches and the community facilities are opening up. And I think that is a beautiful thing. And not only just are they being there by themselves, but they be there to have some youth leaders or somebody there to kind of guide them, give them guidance and show them what it means to socialize and how to respect each other.
I'm a part of the Oakland BBO and I work for the Youth Empowerment. I'm a part of the Youth Empowerment group. And one of my concerns is that we have nothing to do. Like if we go to other areas, they have a whole lot of stuff to do, but we have to go far out. We have to go pay big amounts that we don't have to get in. So we need something out here for us youth to do to stay positive and to stay learning every day.
My name's Aaliyah. I'm a part of the Youth Caucus of the BBON. One of my concerns is jobs, because I feel the lack of jobs for youth is one of the reasons some of the youth do what they do, because they feel they need to help support their family. They need jobs, and I like how they've been having the summer jobs, but I feel it also needs to be a wider variety of jobs while they're in school also.
Like, I agree with you when you say that a lot of families these days really don't, you know, a lot of these people, families aren't real oriented. They're not together. So kids, you know, go to their friends as outlet for love and stuff like that. So I feel like we need more mentors, whatever, putting out a positive outreach, so that instead of going to their friends and stuff like that and going to parties and, you know, hanging out and stuff, they can have somebody to go to, like, you know, males, a father figure or an uncle or a bigger brother to go to. You know, they can show them new things and stuff. I'm also a part of the Tahar Lawson Foundation. That is my little sister's foundation. She's 6-year-old. She's HIV positive. And we work with educating kids on HIV and sickle cell. And that's another issue I have is, you know, health, because a lot of our teens these days need to be taught, you know, needs to be taught about the stigmas of HIV and stuff like that, how to protect themselves. And I don't feel like there's enough being done, because there's also violence in our streets, but there's also others dying from diseases and stuff, and we're really not protecting ourselves. So that's my concern.
Looking at number 1, what we want to determine, is this something that the mayor has control over, that she can do? Is it something that is there something the community can do, or does it go someplace else? Is there somebody else that has a say over whether or not those senior centers close?
Okay, let me just make one point. Okay, you have effective outreach. That's where seniors are every day, hundreds of them. Right. You have senior education. There are senior education programs at the center. Okay. There are computer programs, there are exercise programs, there are health programs, food programs.
Okay. We've lost some of our information and referral because of the linkages program, which the city ran, had information and referral person, and the governor last year, Governor Schwarzenegger, eliminated the program. So we have less staff in our department to do the kind of thing they're talking about. But the senior centers are a place where speakers come in and there's information. And what I heard the gentleman say too, though, is outreach to other places.
Seniors, we need someone from your department, for instance, to come out and talk to us at the senior center where I live, senior housing, and let us know what's available.
I'm concerned about number 1. I'm wondering, no closure of the centers that comes under the city council. So I'm wondering how many of those services that are there would come under number 1, because I think a lot of them could be combined under no closure.
True. Everything had to take a hit that the city pays for. Everything had to take a hit. I know that it was very hard for the mayor to even think about touching the senior centers. And of course, our department doesn't want them touched. But every part of the city has, you know, in these proposals takes a hit.
Would you repeat what the mayor said about the food? Because I spoke of the food and I didn't understand what she had said.
What she was laying out was the 3 different scenarios that she has in terms of the budget. What would happen if we didn't have the budget, for instance, and it included the things that would be affected. But what she said was, no matter which scenario we come up with, they would still have the lunches for the seniors. The food would not be impacted.
I'm still concerned about transportation. I'll bring up another thing. We do have, or for a while, when I first moved into which was 9 years ago, to senior housing, we had at our disposal a bus through the Bay Area Community Services. I don't know if it was you or somebody that's connected with them. Well, of course, the money isn't there, so BAC doesn't have that bus available for us to, to go like in events, like we like to go out to Hometown Buffet or something like that. Well, it's not available anymore for us to use. They do provide the senior shuttle, we call it senior shuttle on Mondays, that picks up some of our seniors to take them shopping. We go to Food Max and San Leandro, mostly to San Leandro because those are the only ones that we can switch off of Food Max. But again, it's that kind of transportation also that I would like to see improved or funded somehow so we could have that bus, that shuttle bus especially, available again for us.
What I'm angry at is because I reported a police officer wanting to tase me when the Oscar Mesley case came up, and they came back and lied and said that I said some racial overtones, and it came back. I wrote out my complaint to the officers, and they put some stuff that I didn't say in there, and came back and said unfounded, and I had no recourse. So I got angered, which turned into depression, because anger reverted, rage is depression. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's over. I'm angered, I'm depressed, I have nothing else.
Now, one of the things that I heard Debbie say is actually that she knows a particular group that might be one that you can connect with, right? And that drumming, like, to express the anger. So
but what I'm saying, there's no social justice. You understand what I'm saying? I'm in the social, then that I take that into my community. And then I go beat up somebody or, But the police go back in our community and say, hey, I got you. I have a college education. Now the next person who has no college education, I got him. This is how I know how to get the next person with less education. And then I'll just bust him in his head, or you know what I'm saying? It's perpetuating ignorance.
I've spent most of my life right here on these grounds, and my concern and reason for coming here today is the killings that's going on with the young people. I really think it's everybody's fault. I don't think it's just the police. I think we as a society have lost the concern, this young man mentioned the Bible, of love for one another. And so what I'd like to see is more concern for each other, and education programs put in place to stop, not necessarily gangbanging, but, arguments, the little things, littering, and the things that are really tearing this city down. But I really think it's the people's responsibility. I think each of us owe it to ourselves to be more loving, more kind, and understanding of one another. And so I'm here because I'd like to see Oakland change in the sense of concern for each other.
If I was to say, help increase community love, understanding, and kindness, that would capture part of what you said. But there's a second part, I think, that you said that was really important that went with it. And I sort of lost because I was trying to think about how to say it. But I think you were talking about specific actions we could take related to how we could do this, right? I think you had some idea.
Where does a child that doesn't have anything but drugs and alcohol in their family go for their situation? Where are the people there that hold their arms open to this man, his situation, and cultivate it to where he can go and support somebody else? Where's the love and concern for our social life in Oakland? I mean, it's not the money, it's more of a mindset that we tend to neglect.
Why does everybody refer to Deep East Oakland as the crap? You know, when do we start saying this is the greatest part of Oakland? Because to me it is. I've always loved Oakland. You know, don't go to Deep East Oakland. When do we stop saying that? When do we stop referring to this is the most beautiful part of Oakland? To me, you know, just above Mike Arthur. Oh, you're in a great part of town. That's what I want to start referring to people saying. That's what I want to say. Oh, Castlemont, the greatest school in Oakland. That's what I want to start saying. You know, when do we start doing that? And I hope with this part is the infant stage of people trying to say, hey, let's start something new.
And John, I really want to acknowledge the fact that you've sort of shared a lot with the group, and I hear what you're saying, that it's been difficult, but you're still a parent who volunteers at his daughter's school and gives back a lot. And I think that even though you have these things that hopefully this other organization will be able to help you with, you should take some pride and hope in that, because I think it says a lot for you to still be doing those things in the situations that you're in, and that's powerful.
Yo vivo por la 105 y ahí hay mucha drogadicción, mucha venta, mucho vandalismo. Entonces vivo cerca de la 105 y Edes hacia el fondo del 880. Entonces ahí como que no hay mucho ya calles, o sea, corridas. Entonces ahí se da mucho para que se escondan y se vayan ahí. Y también en la pura 105 y la Edes hay un parque cerrado por años, que cerraron porque ha habido mucho crimen ahí, ha habido muchos muertos. Entonces ese parque pues es de nuestra comunidad y nos gustaría, o sea, que si no se abriera, hace mucho que se prometió que se iba a hacer un tipo glorieta, pero por los recursos que no hay, no se ha hecho nada. Entonces,
some of the things that they've been saying is more police presence on 83rd to 85th Avenue and International, because there's a lot of loitering going on in that area. There's a lot of foreclosed homes in East Oakland, so maybe having a code enforcement unit go after the property owners or the banks. In most cases, it's bank owned. Protection or a barrier on 34th Avenue and East 9th, where the railroad passes, the trains passes. And then the other one's clean streets in general. And then, littering. Limpieza y I'm sorry, now I'm switching it back to Spanish. Cameras in commercial areas where there's a lot of crime. More. We don't have enough, or not at all. Shootings and weapons on 84th and the surrounding area, 84th Ave and Mac. And then on 105th and East Avenue, there's a park that they closed due to the crime. They're saying let's reopen it, have families and the kids play in the neighborhood. There's still a lot of crime, so that needs to be addressed.
We do not have a lot of graffiti and the median strips along the MacArthur corridor, because we're looking for supermarkets, coffee shops, different flower shops. We deserve that type of commerce in our neighborhoods. If people are afraid to walk in there because of graffiti and there's so much trash, nobody's going to want to come in here into Oakland, period.
The air quality here, just from, say, the auto shops, some of the auto shops here, a lot of them aren't really legal, and we're getting a lot of bad air.
One of my concerns that I mentioned was the medium strips. And in my area, the medium strips the weeds had overgrown so much that it became a safety hazard to cross the streets, because you couldn't see the oncoming traffic. And once the medium strip, the weeds were cut down, the city, I guess I could say, did not really clean the area. We still had weeds growing up from the sidewalks, so it it really didn't do anything but just cut the weeds down, not beautifying the area.
You also have some shops that have illegal shops within them. We did a tour last year with some of the people from the state in a Greyhound bus through the neighborhood. They wound up closing a paint shop on East 14th and 84th Avenue, illegal.
All the potholes are right here, so the kids walk right through it. They walk on the fecal matter, the dogs do it. They stroll their buggies in there. Kids that are curious look down there and try to see what's in there, you know, and they do it. And they've been doing it, and I'm devastated. I'm just devastated.
So you need additional support from your neighbors to help you with this situation, because it's not a one-woman show that you should have to fight.
No, because the guys are beginning to hate me because I call so much.
Yeah. So if you have other support, then they have more people to hate.
They act like they're cool and, oh, Miss Barker, you pay your bills and you can call anytime, but I know that's not what it is.
Okay, you all, based upon the kind of preliminary vote that we did, it looks like everyone has already had an opportunity to vote. So when we did the count, the number one concern, it looks like, is the closing of the fire stations in the Hills, specifically Fire Station 28. The second concern or focus is the civilianization of the Oakland Police Department. And number three was the killing of young men here in the city of Oakland. So those are the top three concerns. We will report out when we reconvene so that the mayor is knowledgeable of what the concerns are in District 7 as it relates to public safety. I'd like to thank all of you for attending this breakout session. Please feel free to fill out the purple evaluation forms. And if you'd like to get more involved, this is a fantastic opportunity to do so. So put your information on the purple forms. Thank you again, and I hope that this was helpful.
I'd like now to ask the facilitators from each of our breakout groups to take just 3 minutes. Can we have all the facilitators come forward and be up here so we can move this portion along?
Hi everyone, I'm reporting back on the public safety breakout. The number one concern was the closing of Fire Station 28. The number two concern was the desire to civilianize the OPD, to want that to happen. And number three was gang and gang-related activity. But associated with that as close fourths and fifths was the killing of young men by other young men and drug-related violence.
I'm reporting on the education group, and we identified our top three priorities were providing career and technical education opportunities for young people in Oakland, absenteeism and truancy, and city-school partnership. And we got a little further, and so for our career and technical education action plan, we said the city should have a lobbying agenda to support funding for career and technical education. We should offer certification credits for city-sponsored programs. So if in after-school programs have a job component, kids could get credit toward a certification. And also we should create volunteering opportunities that have certification credits. And lastly, to have incentives and tax credits for businesses that hire Oakland students.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vladimir Vlasovsky with Public Works Transportation Services, Traffic Engineering, and our group came up with three priorities. The first one was the condition of streets, and obviously we talked about potholes earlier. What the strategies that we came up with are improve or come up with new funding sources for streets, either bonds or sales tax revenues. We also talked about developing a priority list for streets so that all streets get treated equally regardless of where they are, and also to advocate more for federal funds for streets. Our second priority is bus service. So bus service, reliability, and costs. The action plan called for working more closely with AC Transit to advocate for Oakland's needs, to make an appointment to the MTC board with an Oakland representative. And the other suggestion was to encourage AC Transit to advertise inside their buses so that they can come in, they can get more funding to keep the buses running where people need them. We had a tie for third. There's a concern about diesel trucks in neighborhoods. And one of the suggestions was to look at revoking the ban on trucks on 580. As a side note, there is a study that's in process at the city, working with the community, and also to look for funding from truck generators to restrict trucks or to ban trucks on certain neighborhood streets. And the other tie for third was safety on transportation safety, that is for bicyclists, pedestrians, and transit users. The suggestions that we came up with were to look at brighter lights and more lights for safety, looking at green-powered lights, solar-powered or other alternative sources of energy, and to look at adding and improving crosswalks to improve safety for pedestrians. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Ferguson. I'm with the Public Works Agency, and I was a facilitator for the Blight and Beautification session. And we actually had 4 topics of concern. 2 were a tie, but the top vote getter was illegal dumping / blight enforcement. And the second was beautification, and the 2 that were tied were median strip maintenance and abandoned homes and foreclosed homes. So as part of the solutions, number 1 was pride of ownership. The group felt, we had about 15 people in our group, and they felt that the first thing was for people to take pride and ownership in their own properties, and that would result in a cleaner city. Beautification of neighborhoods, which consists of community gardens, specifically MacArthur and 82nd. There's an opportunity there that the group strongly felt about. And that would also teach folks how to grow gardens and how to cook healthy meals. So that was a big item. And another solution in terms of illegal dumping and blight, surveillance cameras and enforcement to the fullest extent possible of the perpetrators. And on the community side, they want people to report illegal dumping by any means you can, through our internet, our website. We have a City Works management system. You can, if you have computer access, or you can call our call center at 615-5566. If you have photos or any identification of license for vehicles that dump, all that information is useful. And another solution was citywide cleanups, volunteerism. There are quite a few people in our group that currently volunteer, and they want to encourage others to help out. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Arturo Sanchez. I'm with the City Administrator's Office, and I was the facilitator for social justice. And we had a very small group, but a really great discussion, and it was really organic, and it was actually wonderful to be a part of. So we had solutions mixed in with the top 3 issues that they wanted to deal with. So the top vote getter was help increase community love, understanding, and kindness, and by developing programs to provide reconciliation and community empowerment. Also, through the community empowerment to help deal with things like blight and littering and issues that often affect neighborhoods. So that would be a way to empower and create social justice in a community, just sort of by bringing people together. The second vote getter was help community deal with anger, and there was an excellent discussion about from a single parent who goes to Allen Temple Baptist for a very healthy healing program to deal with anger and anger management issues, and he would like to see a similar program started for 16 to 18-year-olds with peer-to-peer counseling and a mediator who can be trusted and has some investment in the community and has the respect of the community to help young men deal with anger and the issues that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. And then the third vote getter was generally police issues. We covered a series of things, but one of the key topics was we need to have a stronger sense of connection between our police department and our young people and people in general in the community. And so things like having more homegrown police officers that are part of the police department, folks that can connect with our communities and will understand that in understanding the people that they're dealing with, there are ways to de-escalate issues that will prevent people, young people, people of color from being incarcerated. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Hatsune, and I'm reporting for the Spanish-speaking group. So the priorities in general had to do more with public safety. So more vigilance of groups who are hanging out, doing drugs or drinking alcohol or just hanging out in general, especially along 83rd to 85th Avenue and International. And then the second concern and priority was more public safety and more police officers nearby schools. And then the third was, or then there was a third and fourth that were tied, and that was opening a park that is on 105th Avenue and Eads Avenue that was closed, and now there's been a lot of instances of crime and drug abuse in that area, and then also combating drug dealing and delinquency in front of liquor stores, and especially on 105th and Eads. So some of the solutions that were discussed were just as a community becoming more involved with their NCPC group, their neighborhood watch group, maybe having a campaign around cleaning, so having like stickers and like a PR campaign around that. And then, let's see what else. Maybe the city could provide more education around how to make reports. And then, let's see, having a group of families who work with the schools and police officers to increase the presence, or the presence around schools, and especially having more of a focus on responding to the needs of Latinos. And there was some discussion at the end of perhaps police officers not responding as well or as quickly to complaints or reports by the Latino community. That's it.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah Carney. I'm one of the co-facilitators for the Youth Empowerment Group, and our three major concerns were economic jobs, mentors, and programs for everyone. Programs and jobs for everyone. And when I say programs and jobs for everyone, I mean like a lot of the outlets that are out there for you, you have to be on probation or you have to be a foster care to get in. And I really feel that's not fair, because basically we can't do good until we do bad, and that shouldn't be the case. So the programs that, and a solution to that is the programs that they have that is putting a limit to you have to meet one of those standards, they should open up their standards to everyone so we can all be a part of it. Okay, and for mentors, we feel we need more mentors. Like, we need mentors to come and really help us, not just say, oh, okay, we have a meeting day, but work with us when we don't have a meeting. Call us, check on us, see how we're doing, pop up at our schools, and I think that'll really help, because if you care, you have to show us you care before we'll really be interested in doing what it is.
My name is Jamila Lawson, and I was the another co-facilitator. And what the third topic was economics, and what we focused on was more jobs for youth, i.e. stores, mentors for youth to mentor youth to be trustworthy, make the communities more appealing, more resources, longer-term employment, positive mentors, communicate about opportunities, outreach, and financial literacy and economy. One thing we have to do is really is reach out to our youth and help them come up with more jobs to help our youth. Like she said, we just can't have jobs for people who has been in foster care or who's been on probation or whatnot. We have to open the outlet to everyone, because those push our youth out in the streets and lead them to steal and rob people and do burglaries or whatnot. So if we open more jobs and we get a better economic system and we budget our money better, then we can have, everybody can have an opportunity, and they won't think that they just have to go rob and take. They can actually try and put their minds to getting a job, you know? So basically that's what we talked about today. That's what we discussed. We focus most of our time on economics, so that's it. Thank you.
And I was a recorder for the senior breakout session. And without a doubt, we had a great deal of the senior center participants in our group. And their number one priority was no closure of any senior centers, but particularly not theirs. And the reason why it was not just because they're being selfish, but it's because they really see the vital need for the senior centers in terms of what role it plays in their lives. There's health care that's provided there. There's food, nutrition services that are provided, food giveaways, as well as lunches for folks. Sometimes they said some of the people who have lunches there, that's the only hot meal that they get during a day. So they find that their senior center is truly a resource for them. They want it to continue. So that's their number one priority. Number two priority was more effective outreach to seniors to inform them of what services are available. That for the most part, the senior centers do a good job because they have information and referral people in the centers, and so those seniors who attend senior centers are knowledgeable. But there are many seniors who don't or cannot get to the senior center, and they don't know what services may be available to them. So they want to figure out a way to work with you, the mayor, and the council to make sure that everyone who's a senior citizen in Oakland knows what services are available to them and can get those services. And their number three priority was traffic safety. There were issues around lighting around the senior centers, as well as parking designations, but also just the ability to cross the street safely, and to, you know, the kids do this thing where they drive on the wrong side of the street and swerve around and that kind of thing. They're concerned about traffic safety for not just themselves, I think, but for everyone. And those were the three priorities out of our group.
And what we came up with basically for action plan is that we recognize as seniors and as voters that we have to let our council members, our mayor, anybody in the city know exactly what it is that we need. And we wanted to also let you know that it's not just about what the city can do for the seniors. Do I sound like Kennedy? But it's what the seniors are willing to give back to the community. Okay? Thank you.
We've dealt with community economic development, or community development, economic development. And there were a lot of really good ideas, and a lot of energy was brought to by all the members of the group. We can go with our top priorities were shopping, being able to shop in the neighborhood, being able to go to a grocery store, local retail development, and small business development. And then the second one we had came up with is having a festival, or carnival festivals in particular, something like they have in San Francisco that will promote East Oakland and the benefits and the joys of actually being able to have fun and entertainment. Then we had small business development, small business and new business development opportunities, bringing new businesses, small businesses, entrepreneur businesses, and training and for both trades for these businesses and also for business owners and the businesses themselves. And, oh yeah, and then also with the shopping, we were also discussing about having new shopping come in that would be more oriented towards mid-size or mid-scale shopping and also small businesses. So when you make these, when the small business persons go into business, they'll be able to have locations and opportunities to be able to sell in the neighborhood and also hire locally. That was another important thing. And then that's going to leave us with public relations. Public relations to promote what's going on in the city, what's available in terms of shopping and employment opportunities, doing outreach to churches and other small groups or other groups that, so people have a wide range of knowledge or a place where they can go and get that information and find out what's locally near them. One other comment was to make the city website a little more user-friendly, I believe. Okay. All right. And I think with that, the top three, and that was it.
And we came up with our top 3 issues. First one is we need grocery stores, not liquor stores in our neighborhoods. And a way that we decided to combat that and make change is to limit the type of businesses that can come in, if any new ones are looking at Oakland. Using old, unused buildings to create new grocery stores. Our neighbors, we need to talk to each other. If you notice a store that has potential to have produce, go talk to the owners and tell them, look, I come here all the time and I don't see bananas. Where are the bananas? And just tell them that we need better food in the neighborhood. For any existing stores that are kind of on the borderline of hopping over to being a better grocery store. Our second point is the need for more care clinics for all, especially senior citizens. A major complaint was the fact that when you do call in and ask for an appointment, it's weeks ahead, months ahead, and by that time, in my experience, I have a dad who's very sick, and they keep on trying to give me appointments that are weeks away, and by that time, he might be gone. So it's very important that we get more care clinics in Oakland so that these appointments can happen quicker. A solution was we need to contact the county to start negotiating this process, and again, using old unused buildings to perhaps house new care clinics. Our third main point really touched my heart. We had a woman named Terry. I don't know if I forget her last name, but she lives on 82nd and Iris, and in her neighborhood, there's a sewer system that is totally not working. It overflows every single rainy season, and literally fecal matter is on her city streets. And so something needs to be done to fix the sewer system. And the solution was to get her neighbors together and just educate on this problem. We need to get the correct people over there. And I believe we need to have some sort of accountability for issues like this. Who exactly is responsible for this sewer not working for X amount of years? We need to figure out who this person is. And that was it.
So where's Public Works in the sewer, ladies? Is Vic still here? David, where are you? Sewer ladies, raise your hand, and David, make sure that you talk to each other before they leave. So first of all, I just want to quickly say I got to almost all of your workshops, and they were really very lively. I think this is maybe the best one in terms of workshops that I've seen. And I want you to know that over 300 people signed up. That means that over 2,500 people have come to the town hall meetings. So what we're now going to do is take all of these, and we're going to have a work session with all the leaders of the city departments, and we're going to look at them, and we're going to start prioritizing our work and listening to what you've said from the small to the big. Some of them are going to take a long time, but some of the more immediate things, I'm sure Larry and I will be on immediately. Just quickly reacting. Where's my husband? Dr. Floyd Hewen, my husband, come up here so they can see your face. He is on the Highland Hospital board, and he was the founder of the healthcare clinic over at Foothill Square, and they provide very good services. So I think a health caucus needs to meet with him. He's really good at agitating and getting health services.
615-4870. Anybody's welcome for care there, okay, as long as you're a resident of the Oakland.
they have an appointment system, and it's an interesting system, but people who have private insurance go to their clinics because they're so well run. But you can also just ask them how to organize for better health care, and that's pretty amazing. I also wanted to just quickly say, I want to be clear, I want to say this again. Even under the worst case scenario, which I hope will not happen, all the senior centers will be open for lunch at least. That is, they'll be open for that lunchtime so that the seniors can get their lunch, even under the worst case scenario. And what the worst case scenario is that we'd only have staffing, though, for programs beyond lunch for 3 days a week. And so under that case scenario, I'm actually asking the county, and I'm asking my husband, in Norfolk, I'm asking my husband's senior program and Highland Hospital and some of the other health facilities to provide some health education on the days that we don't provide programming, so that we can keep the centers open and people can stay active, involved. Station 28. The best way to avoid that cut and the senior cuts and to get the Castlemont swimming pool open during the summer is to pass the parcel tax. And I know that's hard in this community. It's $0.25 a day. It's only for 5 years. And let me just, we're going to go into the budget, so this is going to be my transition into the budget. We passed out a 4-page thing, and did everybody get this sort of comparing the 3 budgets, the 1-page thing? If you didn't, I have extras here. Raise your hand, and my staff is going to pass it out. Let me have one. So I'm going to make this very brief because we have food to feed you afterwards, and we'll have more chance to chat. But and everything that I'm talking about is on the city website under budget, all the big long documents if you want to get more into it. But basically, for the last 5 years, the city has been cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. So I'll give you an example. Last year, we cut half of all the park and median maintenance people in the city. And it's complicated why it had to be so deeply cut, but part of it is because the way you have to get around Prop 13 with landscape and lighting districts. We haven't had an increase since 1993, and even though we passed one, something happened in a lawsuit which threw everything out, even though we won that election and to get the cost of living increase. But that's so when we come back and cut another 15%, that means we'll be at 35% of where we were 6 years ago in maintaining parks. So that's really tough. Basically what we've been doing with with this year's deficit, and it's the 3 main reasons why we have the deficit, is, for example, has anybody here bought their house in the last 5 years? You got your taxes reassessed, right? A quarter of all the houses in Oakland and Alameda County got reassessed. That cost the city $28 million, the real estate crash alone. So that's a lot of money to try to make up in 1 year. We also, everybody's, if you're like me, are buying a little less. Sales tax is down, and we don't get much of it, but we get 1/2 cent of each, 8.5% or 9%, and that all adds up, so that's down. Real estate's down. One of our biggest sources of funding is when we buy and sell homes. We get a certain 7% on that. And so people are less buying and selling homes right now. And so that's down. And when you add that up and you add the increased cost, we're about $54 million short, and that's before the state cuts and before the federal cuts. And what we're really worried about, so on your thing you see that triangle. We're just talking about the base of that triangle, the city budget. On top of that is potentially state cuts, and that's why we're trying not, and we did not cut senior programs until last year because most of the state and federal cuts were in the senior programs, particularly at the state level. A lot of senior programs were cut at the state level, and now the Republicans want to cut 2 of our major senior programs. And that's one of the things that Barack Obama is struggling with, and I still think we may see a federal close down at some point. So what we're now talking about is just the city budget. So basically, without going a lot of details, there's 3 budgets we've put out. Budget A is what I call the ugly budget, the worst budget. it would be, what I tried to do in doing the budget is, first of all, to try to be fair, to make sure the cuts were across the board, every department and all the employees shared relatively some of the pain, and that the community participate too. So under all of the budgets, there's going to be a flattening of the city. We're going to combine some departments. We're going to have less department heads. We're going to, even under the best case scenario, probably eliminate 100 jobs. We just have to do that because our revenues are way too low. The second thing we tried to do is get and you can't cut all programs equally. And so, for instance, seniors is under 15%, but its average is about a 15% across the board cut in the different departments. And again, it's not a good thing to do. Some of them are a little less, a few of them are a little bit more, especially some of the small ones. It's hard to cut the small ones. So the three budgets. Under the ugly scenario would be if we don't have a parcel tax and or if it fails and the employees don't contribute. And I want to tell you that all of the unions, including the fire and police, whose contracts are not open, are at the table. And I am optimistic that we will have contributions by all of our employees, and that will be fairly significant if that happens. Now, how much it will be, what it will be our goal, and our goal is about 10 to 12%. I don't know. But one of the things I'm willing to do under these budgets, that if we don't get those contributions is, and under all of these budgets, is that if we don't get contributions in kind, such as for the police, it would be pension contribution, that we're going to furlough everybody, including police and fire. Now, how can I do that? Because we're going to do it on a vacation day rather than closing down the city. That is, people will take the days, but they'll have to take them like vacation days and choose those days. And that will mean for citizens that we won't close down senior centers and parks and libraries, but that your services are going to be thinner throughout the year because we're going to have people out. And that means that police and fire can contribute. They have not done that in the past. And we're negotiating alternative ways to get the same amount of money. But if everything fails, I'm willing to do that because I'm not willing to lay off cops. I'm not willing to lay off any more police officers, and I want to make sure that it's still fair because the fire, if you look at the big chart, fire and police used to be 75% of the budget, but we laid off 80 cops. Now they're 66% of the budget. So that's the difference of 80 cops, and it's a huge part of our budget. Now, part of the solution across the board also is that I have started to bring back laid off officers more aggressively. We're still within our budget level, but by bringing back laid off officers, it will push back when I have to do an academy to recruit new officers. Academies are very expensive. They're trained for a year. It costs $4 million to train police officers. So one of the things that I'm doing that address one of the concerns today is I'm working very hard to develop a new training program where we have a high school program that's a cadet program and an explorer program, and we have the police reserves where we're going to try to grow our own police officers. We're going to try to get kids involved at high school level, follow them through community college. We're trying to get Merritt College to do a full-blown academic policing program, and that will shorten eventually the length of my academies and bring down their costs and hopefully recruit more people who live in the city. So those are things that we're working on. So that's going to happen. So, but under the ugly budget, that is no concessions or contributions by employees and no parcel tax, we would not even have enough money to get the minimum amount of money to match the library Measure Q, which I helped write and I helped pass, and trust me, I would rather be run over by a truck than close a library. But if we don't, if you look at that big chart, which is the amount of cuts that we may have to make are like 58, and we have only about $78 million to play with. that's about 80% of the budget, and we wouldn't even be able to make that $9 million minimum if we did it across the board. Now, you could cut something more extremely somewhere else and find the $5 million for the library, but again, it'll be very, very, very tough, and that will be up to the council to decide if we're at that point. It is one that we'll fight hard if we have that scenario, because Measure Q brings in $14 million, so the gap is likely to be just a few $1,000,000. We don't want to lose the 14. We're very lucky as a city. Very few cities have 18 branches and openings for their libraries. There are cities in the state now that have no libraries. Salinas had no library for about 2 years. That's not a small city. So we love our libraries because for 40% of Oaklanders, it's their only access to the internet, and it's really a community center, and that's why we're really looking to open up the 81st Avenue Library. We would close fire stations, so the 28, Station 28 is really important to you, so if you support Station 28, you have to consider helping us support the parcel tax. It's $0.25 a day. A quarter a day, it's $80. And at the last meeting I was at this morning, people beat me up because it wasn't more, but you know, people were willing to pay more to keep some of these vital services. But I know it's very tough times now, but it is, in order to get to budget C, everybody has to contribute. Under budget B, employees contribute 10 to 12%. And under that, it's a less worse scenario. I won't even go into details. You can read it. It's the middle budget. So basically, what I've tried to put out is what we think are the least harmful reductions under each scenario. It's likely to fall somewhere in between A and B. If there's no parcel tax, it's likely to, or if we do really well with negotiations, between B and C. But the best case scenario is Measure C. Some people were saying, oh, Eugene, you're chickening out, you're doing 3 budgets. So I said, I don't control the decisions by the council, and I don't control how the voters are going to vote. Obviously, my preferred budget is budget C, but there are other decisions and other things that line. So that's basically the budget in as short as way I can put it in. I'll say after the answer questions, there's lots of stuff on the internet. We are, you can, if you have a question, you can send your question to budgetsolutions@oaklandnet.com. We're going to start posting some of the more common questions on the city website, the different questions that we're getting, and so if you're on the internet, you should follow that. The last thing my notes is that 82nd, 83rd Street and International, that's where EOYC is going to be opening up on Saturday nights, and where I've gotten the Housing Authority at the middle school there. My brain's dead. What's the middle school at 82nd? Havens Court. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 57th? I'm sorry. This is EOYC, I'm sorry. Okay. They're going to be opening on Saturday night, so again, maybe that's an alternative to get the kids who are hanging out on the street into the center. So you can help us by telling kids that the center is going to be open on Saturday night and that the library in June is going to be open on Friday night. Let's get our kids into these safer places. You can help us if you belong to Allen Temple Church. We're going to try to get the gym open. We're going to try to get more community facilities open so the kids will be safe. So I'm going to end it there. What we're going to do now is at each of the town hall meetings, and we're going to make it a little shorter. At this town hall meeting, we take questions. Everybody gets a minute. If you want to ask a question, line up there. We're going to take the first 10 people. My friend from the Black Cowboys.
Thank you, Mayor Quan. Actually, I'll be as brief as possible. My name is Odessa Logan. I'm also a member of the 7th District Community Block Grant Board, as well as the OUSD Facility Citizens Oversight Committee. The Black Cowboy has a 37-year tradition and history here in Oakland. Actually, we just completed our tour with the Oakland Public Schools Black History Month, and we also were invited to schools in Antioch as well as San Bruno City College. With that, we are also partnering with the Oakland Park and Rec in doing a 7-week tour.
You got 1 minute if you have a question.
I'm getting there. I don't have a question. Well, it is a question in that sense, but I'm getting there. The other piece is we have support with the Oakland Park Director, Ms. Jones, and we understand that 2 years ago or several years ago, the mayor cut the funding for the arts program, which also meant many parades and so forth and festivals that were here in Oakland. We want to know basically how we can come back together and not necessarily be totally funded by the Oakland, but also actually we go out and have represented Oakland in Livermore. We actually just got first place in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in San Francisco, and actually we go out.
The question is?
The question is, how can we work together for the city to recognize the Oakland Black Cowboy Association again and help present our parade either with in-kind services or services from the city?
Well, it sounds like you're already working with Audrey, so let me answer this more broadly. There are a lot of community festivals that the city used to help fund, and we really can't do that now. On the other hand, we did pass the hotel tax, which is why even in the worst case scenario, there would still be money for the arts, and because they get 1/4 they get about a cent off of the hotel tax. So what that translates to is we give money to the zoo, the museum, Chabot, the big institutions. We also give money to the artists in the schools, and we have money for general community arts and culture. So the symphony got a little bit of money for its youth program in the schools, and there is a little money possibly for festivals. But festivals really are the ones that lost out. And so we've done two things. I've been meeting with the chief about how many police officers are required for a festival event. And if we organize community volunteers, we've been able to bring that cost way down. So for instance, last year was no Cinco de Mayo. This year there was, because we changed the ratio of the police officers needed, and they were able then to hire those. And it's a very big event, so you need some officers, particularly if you're going to close down a major street like International. So we're working on changing the formula to reduce the cost for the permits and the police. We also have a process where people can apply for that cultural arts money, so they can use that. I think, and I would hope that you would work particularly with the school district, particularly because of if you look at the new school district's 5-year plan, when they asked the kids what they wanted most, they wanted, and this warmed my heart because my husband and I helped found ethnic studies at UC Berkeley, they wanted more ethnic studies, more history about themselves, to know their history and their past. Next question, please.
Thank you, thank you. What I will do is leave my card with your representative, and you did work with us last year and walk with us. We expect to see you again with us this year.
Thank you.
We celebrate you. Thank you.
Okay, now these questions have to be shorter than that.
All right, if we have 1 minute. My name is Val Servant. I live directly opposite this school, and I'm one of the founders of the San Francisco Carnival in 1977. And I would like people to go over there the next weekend and see how many millions of dollars are brought into the city. And I really am here today to encourage people to support a Caribbean Carnival in June, because Barbara Lee got June passed as Caribbean Heritage Month nationally in this country.
Okay.
President Obama has put it out, so I want people to support that. I coordinated programs in 4 state prisons and taught in the juvenile halls.
Okay, I'm cutting you off, and the question is,
all right, the question is, are you
again?
Really willing to help to bring a lot of the artists into the schools for the same thing you talk about, the ethnic part of it for children to have access to? I am available for that.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not on the school board anyhow, so we're going to ask Alice that if she's still here, and to bring him into the schools. But what the city has done with a lot of the programs that we fund, and remember, we fund 2 kinds of kids programs. We fund generally through a competitive process for Kids First. About 4% of the city budget goes to school and after school and youth programs. And it's competitive, and the panel who chooses it has 1 more kid than adult. So you actually have to be pretty good to get past the kids in general. So you can apply for that. Secondly, we have Measure Y programs that are mostly aimed at the violent in the city and at the kids most in trouble. So the youth group was complaining that there were some programs they couldn't get in, and those are those programs. But these Kids First programs are actually more funding than Measure Y, and those are totally open to whichever group the proposal is aimed at. On the Caribbean event itself, I was suggesting to him that they work with Nancy Nadell, who has been a big advocate in the past because of the violence that happened at the events. The police were not willing to give a permit. But again, I think if we develop a community process to step up on security and not just use the police, that we can have more of these events and we can have them less expensively.
Okay, my question is, how can you help some of the men that want to get back into society to be role models for some of the youth that you're trying to help? Maybe you can expand the Project 22 volunteer services, because I'm one of the men that do not have a job but do want to be a role model for some of the youth that you're trying to help. I don't know what my question is, but we need help to get back into society. Maybe we're not going to get paid, but we can probably help clean up the yards or some of the programs of the parks that we can be a role model for some of the kids. Is there a program that we can get help like that?
Yes, there are for the Measure Y funds, and if you want to talk to Reagan afterwards. Two things. I didn't get to talk about today, but you know, a lot of you know I went to Detroit because Detroit has a model of community policing that I think we can learn from. Detroit's much more violent than we are, but one thing that really caught my attention is that in the state of Michigan, they, instead of incarcerating a lot of their young people, have contracted it to, instead of to prisons, to nonprofits, and it works like an HMO. If you keep the kid out of trouble, you don't have to lock them up. In California, it costs us what I spent to send my kid to Princeton, more in fact, a year to lock up a kid, and their recidivism is 18%. We lock up kids and our recidivism is 80%. That is, 80% of our kids get back in trouble with the law within a year of getting out of prison. And in Detroit, it's only 18% because they spend more money keeping the kid in the community and supporting them, helping them with job skills. And so I've been trying to get dinner with Jerry Brown to get him to look at that. And so I think that's the bigger problem. Within Measure Y, we have funding that helps only, though, 200 to 300 formerly incarcerated people a year. And if Jerry releases people, we're going to have thousands on our hands. So we're going to need everyone to step up and help.
Hi, my name is Brenda Munoz, and I live close to MacArthur 106, and I've started a grassroots movement to start a local grocery store where the old Walgreens used to be. And in the past, so we're going to have an event on June 4th, which is a Saturday, from 11 to 2 to start talking about what the community needs and the possibilities to start a locally owned store. I guess my question is that we understand there's a food school coming in, and that's great, but also trying to figure out how we can work together to have other options and alternatives. I know that Lake Merritt, there's 4 stores around the area. Why isn't it possible for us to be able to have a big store and maybe something smaller? And maybe thinking about who we can talk to about that effort.
First of all, we've been helping Mandela, which is very similar to that. Have you been to visit Mandela?
Actually, I contacted Mandela, and they're working with me to help me start this.
Okay, so the same staff that's been working with them could work with you. And are the CETA people here? Who's still here from CETA? They all left, I'm sorry. I've been making them work all the weekends. In the CETA department, you give them a call, the same people. Richard Quan, is he still here from my office? Richard, he's probably out there. But one of the guys who's coordinating, Richard, can help you be hooked up with those people.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
My question is, why can't we use retirees in Oakland Fire to help reduce some of the costs? I mean, we're talking about increments here. I understand OPD uses their retirees. Why can't we do that? Why can't we encourage more employees to live in Oakland?
Okay,
that would help.
All right, let me take those two. First of all, let's take the last one first. Apparently, Oakland used to have a law that people had to live within Oakland, and that law and several others around the state were overturned by the courts. We can, though, require them to be close enough to be here and to respond to emergencies. So there is a question of whether or not we need to look at that and see whether people are really within that boundary. There's a famous case where we had a firefighter who lived in Maui, did back-to-back shifts, and only came for his back-to-back shifts. So that's an issue. I think, though, to be fair, though, at this point, you know, it's really hard to buy new houses, whatever. We really need to focus on recruiting more young people from Oakland. I mean, the firefighter and the Oakland Fire and Police Department are 2/3 of our budget. So if most of the people live outside, they're taking 2/3 of my general fund out of the city every day. So I'm mostly focusing, we're about to have a generation change with people like me who are boomers, I'm an early boomer, are gonna retire. We need to change, but it's also on the community's part. I have to tell you, less than 10% of the applicants for the last Oakland Police Academy were Oakland residents. So a lot of our kids think that being a cop is not a good thing. And I gotta tell you, most of our police officers are good people. And we have the split in the city that's gotta end. We're never gonna end the violence. We're never gonna have a strong city if we can't heal that division. And you know, I'm not naive. I was 17 years old and touring in West Oakland during the period of the Black Panthers, so I know that we've had a long history of division, but we're way beyond that now. We've gotta be way beyond that now to move forward. So the other question was, I'm sorry, that was residency. The first question was?
Well, you just touched on my third question about starting interest in OPD. I don't think it starts at 25 or 18. I think you need to go down lower, even past high school.
No, absolutely it does, and all the career paths do. Next question.
The other question was use retirees for fire department jobs.
Actually, the retirees, the pension fund, the firefighters here, they actually pay more than their so-called employee share. They're up to like, I think 13%. And so they're actually near the half. And most of the non-sworn, that is not police, not fire employees, are already paying 8%. So, including me. And so we only really have the structural problem with the police department because they have the most expensive pension.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, that wasn't my question.
I'm sorry, I thought that
was
your
My question was...
And I let you have 3 questions and more time, so just this last question.
Well, the question is, why can't we use retirees to do some of the jobs that full-time paid firefighters do now?
We do. We do use retirees, the police department.
I mean, besides the chief.
No.
No, I'm talking about the fire department, besides the chief.
Well, first of all, it depends. Each unit's different. And if you've laid off people, so for instance, we were using retired police officers, but because we laid them off, we can't use retirees when we got people who are laid off. That's a union rule. Right now, the firefighters basically have been working overtime when we have vacancies, and to a certain percentage, that's actually cheaper than hiring new people because you don't have to pay their benefits again. And we monitor that very carefully. Next person.
First off, let me thank you, Mayor Quan. I guess voting really works.
Ranked choice voting definitely works.
Councilman Larry Reid, I don't see him anymore or whatever, but also I'd like to thank my neighbors, man, it's a great turnout, so, and my fiance, we cut our trip short from Monterey. She didn't get to taste her wedding cake, but just so we can be here because it is important. Some of the community may know me because I used to own the taqueria that was at the corner of 90 and MacArthur for a little while. And I only want to say this because after opening that, after paying all the permits and stuff to the city, after getting all the health permits and everything and was allowed to open that taqueria, it was shut down because of some pilot thing that the taco truck had to be on international and all this stuff. But we as a community came together, we voted on it, people wanted it. You know, it was a great turnout. I invested over 20 grand putting lights and everything that the city hadn't replaced after a sideshow activity knocked down the post. And it was still shut down, and I didn't get a conditional use permit behind that.
Could you talk to Reagan afterwards? This is way too much detail.
Yeah, I'll make it quick, but what I'm saying is that it snuffed out my entrepreneur spirit, and what are we gonna do for small businesses and keep people like myself that wanna open a business and invest in the community, keep it going?
Well, let me just answer it more generically and then have you talk to Reagan. There is a big controversy between merchants who have stores and the trucks. So the trucks really play a particular good role in places where people aren't willing to open restaurants and particularly in industrial areas where people need food, et cetera. And we've limited the number of permits and the number of locations, and it's mostly been because stores who have same kind of business, same neighborhoods, don't want the trucks to compete with them because of the cost of running a restaurant and et cetera. We are trying to relook at it because, for instance, some places have these mobile truck food fairs. So we're looking at possibly doing that, and I wanted to do it in East Oakland first because I thought it would bring a diversity of food opportunities here that we don't have. I mean, I've eaten in every restaurant, I think, in East Oakland because I campaigned so hard here, and I think there's not a place that I didn't buy something to eat, including the fish fry place down on International, right? So I've been everywhere, but there's not a lot of variety here, and so having the truck thing might be fun, and so we're looking at that and to see if we can. The health permits are from the county, not my fault, but the issue of the trucks is usually because the people in the neighborhood who have the other kinds of food places don't want it. So we're re-looking at the whole policy, and so Reagan maybe can help you particularly on your issue. It sounds strange that you got approved and then disapproved, so, but we'll work on it, okay? Next.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. This is a twofold question, and my name is Delane Thompson. I'm concerned about the revenue situation. I'm a homeowner, and I'm in agreement with you as far as raising the partial tax. It's a small percentage, and I support it, although I'm in a household with a husband that doesn't. So we're working on that. But I would like to ask you if there's any way possible that we can get some clarity on, okay, as a homeowner, we pay that tax. How does the rest of the community help support the...
Okay. So, with the parcel tax, it includes apartments.
Of course.
So anybody who has a place to live would be paying some share because the apartment renters would pay half of the apartment fee.
They don't support that. I have an apartment.
No, under this, the way it's written is
I know.
the landlord could pass
It's an
half,
option.
which would be 12 cents a day onto the apartment. So that would be shared.
Okay.
So we tried to do that because apartment owners were saying, or homeowners were saying, we don't want to be the only ones to pay it. We were looking at a telephone tax, but interestingly enough, people were less interested in that. And I thought that might be more fair because my family together, because my husband's a doctor, we have a fax machine, and I have all these internet lines, would end up paying something like $100 a month almost because we have so many, not 100, I'm sorry. It's $2 a line. We end up paying $26 because between all of our different lines, we had 13 between all the kids, our landlines, our cell phones. I still pay for some of their cell phones. I don't know why, but I do. I have a fax and I have my internet and all of this, but you know, and we thought that might be fair, but apparently most voters don't like that. So we're pretty stuck with the parcel tax or a sales tax. And just when I'm trying to recruit new retail stores, I didn't want to raise the sales tax. I mean, so one of the things I heard again and again, particularly in Deep East, is people want a place to shop. So I didn't want to raise the sales tax and make us more expensive than San Leandro just when we're trying to recruit retailers.
Okay, my second question is, what are we going to do about bringing the revenue, keeping revenue in our city with shopping malls? Emeryville's done it, San Leandro's done it. I go there, I shop there because they have the stores that I want to shop at. What can we do about getting an anchor tenant anchored in the city of Oakland and developing something that's just as equal to theirs?
Actually, the lady behind you probably could tell you more, but let me start. In the last few years, we've really been focusing on this, and so you may notice that now there's pretty much a major grocery store in every neighborhood now, except for parts of East Oakland and parts of West Oakland. When I started out as a council member 8 years ago, you might remember there was no Farmer Joe's in the Diamond that had been closed for 2 years, et cetera. So we got that. We got Mi Pueblo. We've begun to get, we got the Del Monte Center. There was really a greenlining of poor neighborhoods in the city, and that all of the big grocery stores had left all the poor neighborhoods. And so council really worked on that and been using economic development. Larry, is he still here, is working on the one for Foothill Square, and I've been talking to the company too. They're going to open another one in West Oakland. We made sure that Target, when they opened, we made sure that Target had a food section because West Oakland doesn't have a grocery store. And then the third Kroger is out by the Coliseum would also then fill, I think, the last hole. That almost every neighborhood then will have at least a grocery store. So that's one thing the city, I think, has done a decent job. And on the other hand, we also got some of the high scale, upscale ones that were avoiding us. We got the Whole Foods and we got 2 Trader Joe's. Now, I'm mad because Trader Joe's wouldn't go east of the lake. And that's still, I think, economically how they perceive certain neighborhoods. And I represent the Laurel. I cleared, you know, that empty block that's still at High Street MacArthur. I cleared that whole block for them. And then they said they wouldn't come east of the lake. Retail, I think you're going to see some surprising things, and I'm going to Las Vegas with Larry tomorrow. We're going to be talking to some companies. I think you're seeing some interest finally in Oakland. Emeryville's an interesting situation. A lot of people don't know that we get 40% of the sales tax of the stores that are around the big lot, so the Target's actually on the Oakland side of the parking lot. So we get 40% of those sales tax when you shop at IKEA and those places, I believe. I can't remember where the line goes in all the stores. But Emeryville has no people. And so it's been a different thing to compete with because it was originally set up so that the people who were wealthy in Oakland could have their factories and not pay the taxes to support the schools and the libraries. So it's the same situation. You have a city with lots of land, empty buildings, and very few people to support, so they can have a much lower tax rate. Same thing happened with Piedmont. Piedmont, right in the middle of Oakland, is where sort of a wealthy enclave. Again, they can have their schools just for them, and but that's how it works. And so in Oakland, we're a full-service city. You want 18 libraries, you want culture, you want arts, you want all of these things. These are things that Emeryville uses our fire department to a certain extent. So they don't have to support the full services. And in many ways, Oakland also, we quite frankly provide the arts and cultures for the whole East Bay. If you live in San Leandro, you're not paying for the zoo or the museum or the Chabot Space and Science Center, but you get to enjoy it. And so that's why we did the hotel tax, right? So it's complicated, but we're trying to do our best.
Thank you.
Right. Yep. Okay, Shara, that's the last guy in front of you, right? We're going to let these people eat.
Mayor Quan, thanks for this opportunity to speak. Deborah Costa is referenced. I'm a member actually of CEDA's Economic Development Unit and a proud member of Local 21. First question is to the folks here in this room. How many of you are aware that 54% of Oakland's non-sworn are residents of this city? How many of you are aware that about 7% of the sworn force are residents of the city? Those large salaries are leaving this city. And those of us who live, or non-sworn, are living in this city are getting it on both fronts. I've lost 15% of my income over the last few years because I pay into PERS. The city's asking me to pay an additional 10% over the next couple of years. I'm losing my home right now. Short sale and $200,000 upside down. I can't afford to live there anymore. So we're getting hit on both ends, those of us who continue to live in this city that I love so much. So my question is, in these negotiations, when you're looking at scenarios B and C, and you're looking at employee contributions, how hard are you going to push our sworn police department to give their fair share? Because right now, it's about fair share.
Well, as you know, I wasn't the police officers union's candidate. the guy who actually won here in East Oakland was. And that was an interesting situation. You know, I am doing my best because I don't owe anybody anything on that. I've been really trying to be very fair, though. I think most of our police officers are pretty dedicated. You know, frankly, it was Jerry and Ignacio who negotiated these very high pensions, and at the state level, they set up these unsustainable pensions. It is the next thing that Jerry Brown will have to now take on. It's quite ironic, because he wasn't paying attention when he did it as a mayor, because he wanted to be attorney general, but now as governor, the long-term structural safety economically of the state will really depend on what we do with the pensions. And so not all pensions are equal. I don't begrudge the police union or anybody their pension if we can finance it. And so that's why I want them to pay their fair share. If you're willing to put in more money to finance it. But if we don't finance them, and I mean statewide, they're going to be unsustainable. And I have to tell you, the non-sworn, I've been looking at the figures, the non-sworn CalPERS pension looks actually pretty well funded. It's 80% funded. It looks pretty healthy. I don't think that you guys have to make a contribution over 8% unless the stock market crashes, and then they'll have to look at that. But it is the police and fire pension, which in this city you can retire at age 50, and most of our officers start later, so this is on the edge, but you could retire at age 50 with a $100,000 retirement. Now, if you and I were starting to work again, and we're boomers, so we're not, in order to retire with a $100,000 a year pension, we'd probably have to put, let's say we're in private business, we'd probably have to put $2 million in an annuity to be guaranteed that. And the city just doesn't have that kind of resources. So people have to contribute, and the state has to relook at the funding. And I think that the fund could crash statewide if it's not better funded. And it's the prison guards union. What I was worried about is that the settlement they just made with the prison guards union, quite frankly, because the media did a lousy job. The media said, oh, they made a great contribution to their pension. The prison guards had 2 pensions. They had an extra pension. All they did was, the state is now not contributing to their second pension, but we're still paying for all of the first pension. So the prison guards union, which is very powerful in the state, and it spent about $1 million to beat me. The prison guards union really is driving the fight on the pensions here. So it's not just an Oakland problem, it's because we're part of the statewide pension system. It is a statewide issue. So I think we're asking the union to pay 9%, which is considered the employee share, and that's only about 25% of the pension, by the way, to pay 9%. Of the funds, and they don't have to do anything for 2 years. I think that they're willing to look at it, partly because if they don't, I'm going to be forced, under this scenario, I'm going to be forced to bring the police under 600 officers, and I think that's not a safe level. And I'm going to be forced to furlough officers, and I know they don't want to do that. But I do promise you this, whatever happens, there will be 280 officers on patrol. Even if I have to have every senior officer work a shift on patrol. Even when we had 800 officers, we only had 280 officers doing the 911 response, and we had officers in specialty units. So what the chief plans to do, if we still continue to go down, is eliminate most of the specialty units and push the services closer. That doesn't mean that there won't be murder investigations and there won't be whatever, but pretty much it'll be done much more on the front lines, because we have to keep people on the streets to keep the city safe. Now, do we want to do that? No, we don't. I'd like to have full-time people. For instance, a lot of people know that I've worked on the sexual exploitation of minors. I'd like to have a full-time crew just doing that. I don't want them to have to do patrol part of the time, but if we have to put them down on international, where most of the trade is taking place, we'll do that in order to make sure that you still have a 911 response.
Good afternoon, Mayor Quan. On behalf of EOSA, the East Oakland School of the Arts, Myself, Tarika Lewis.
Good afternoon. I'm artist instructor Daoud Marion here at EOSA.
And I think you had a tour of our rooms over here, and I have some good news. We have former gang members. We have 95% plus attendance rate. Our kids are doing awesome work over here. Can I get a hand? You got to view our room. We are doing the block by block. Our kids are not doing graffiti in the rooms. They're actually engaged in visualizing how our community should look and what they would be. And so we're doing some architectural stuff. We're doing some anatomy, physiology.
I saw your block.
Okay, all right. And so we've been also, Mr. Marion has been printing our children's artwork and selling them to other teachers. So as a part of just growing businesses, because we have that segment too, and building our businesses in our classrooms, making some business plans so our children.
So I'm going to ask you to put together a display so you can show it in the rotunda outside the mayor's office.
Well,
we'd love to have
thank
student
you.
art.
We would like to have an art space too, someplace downtown, a gallery space where corporations can come in and buy our student artwork. Our children need to get paid too. You know, they can have a little money coming in for their own art supplies. We don't have art supply store in this neighborhood, or yes.
So I need you to ask the question.
I got I have a proposal, and who should I get it to?
Arts, Lewis. Did you
Yes.
steal her? That guy.
That guy.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Last question.
Hi, I'm Nathan Burks. I'm a teacher at Castlemont, and I'm a basketball coach. And I grew up in Oakland, lived in Oakland all my life. I grew up in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s, and the biggest difference, well, my issue is I saw the boards up there where everybody was concerned about burglaries, concerned about the hyphy movement, concerned about kids driving up and down the street real crazy, and concerned about hiring more police. But none of those problems are going to get solved if we don't solve the parenting issue, as far as teaching younger parents how to become parents, teaching them, giving them better resources. Police and teachers aren't going to be able to control kids if the parents can't control kids, or if the parents don't want to control kids. And I was just wondering, are you willing, or do you have any plan in the future to do that? Because
I'm sorry, do I have any plans to do which part?
As far as helping young parents helping young parents become better parents and helping them want to become parents because they're in that situation. And if no matter how many police you hire, no matter how much money you throw at education, which I really do want you to throw more money at education, but they won't be solved unless you help young parents become better parents. And do you have any programs, or do you have any ideas to help that?
I was just thinking, I forgot to mention, I usually talk about in my speech that one of the two things that we've tried to do, you may have heard of the Harlem Kids Zone. Has anybody heard about, saw 60 Minutes, how they've taken the 100 blocks in Harlem? And one of the programs that they do is that, and in fact, I did this in 33X when we walked it. We knocked on every door and we looked for children under 3 or pregnant mothers. And we offered them a chance to go to a baby college program, which is parent training. And we couldn't do the 9 classes that they do because we had to cobble the money together. We do 6 classes. There were 80 people in this one and 80 people in the Havensport one, and all the people really wanted to continue to work together and be involved. And that kind of program is really tough to get money for. When I go to foundations, it is one of the things I've been asking for, that and Rashida's civilianization of the police money. I'm always asking for those 2 programs. It's an amazing program because what they found in Harlem is that of the parents who go to baby college, 95% of the parents will send their kids to preschool. And of the kids who go to preschool, 100% of them are ready for kindergarten. And I would say in Oakland, we're lucky if 60% of our kids are ready for kindergarten. And see if I can remember this from school board days. That means that kids have social skills, are able to work in a group, recognize basic letters, can sit still for about 2 minutes. That's really hard for these little ones. All of these sort of skills. And by grade 3, 98% of them are still at grade level. Why is that important? In California, how do we project our prisons? We see how many kids are reading at grade level at 3rd grade. Why? Because kids who are not reading at grade level at 3rd grade are less likely to graduate from high school. Because what happens is they start falling behind. Kids who fall behind get discouraged and drop out of school. And the kids who drop out of school, a high percentage of them end up having contact with the OPD, right? So the earlier we invest in kids, and remember when Hillary Clinton had this whole thing about baby development, about 90% of our brain capacity gets developed in those first 3 years before we even touch them at schools. So we've got to get to the parents who are really the first teachers and teach them those very simple skills that we used to know as a village and as a community, but now we don't. And when I went to Harlem to visit the program, the most touching thing, and I'm going to end with this story because it talks about the cycle of violence. The most touching discussion I had with a young lady was a woman who had been abused as a child herself, was in foster care, and when I asked her, what was the thing that was the most important thing for you out of the baby college? And she said that it taught me the difference between punishment and discipline. That I didn't want to hurt my baby, but that's the only way I knew. That's the way I had been taught. There's the whole books written on the whole use of whoop, right? Whoop in African-American culture, right? From slavery and oppression, and how do you discipline your kid with love and without violence? How do you break that cycle of violence? She said that was she was like 18. She said that was the most important thing that she learned how to work with her child without hitting him. And, you know, and we all know that the kids who are abused are more likely to abuse their wives and their children, more likely to, again, get involved in violence. And so that's such a critical key thing. So the city and the county basically pulled together no new funds, but we got one, at the end we got one grant, but we committed that even though we didn't get one of the national Obama grants called the Promise Grants, and partly we didn't get it because the agencies in the city didn't collaborate. And Obama was looking for where people really were collaborating. So we knew we weren't going to get it. We started pulling together money, and so we've done it now in 2 places. We only have enough money to do 1 class. We're going to do another one back in Beat 33, X34, but we only have enough money for 1 a year. And then we have enough money to do Havens Court, and I'm trying to get money to do my 3rd beat out in West Oakland and to maybe make 2 classes a year. So I've been asking foundations. Lewis Cohen's been working with me to see if we can get additional money to do more classes. But I do think it's critical, and that's really important because we've got to break these cycles of violence in our community. So thank you very much for coming. We're thinking of that. So, okay, give your name. We have just a few little housekeeping things. Okay, just a very few, so hold on. We're going to draw the tickets for the A's dinner. I didn't talk about block by block, but Cheryl and many of the people who organized are in my group called Block by Block. It's not an official city organization, but it's a lot of people who worked on my campaign who want to continue to do grassroots organizing in the community, and new people that we've met since the campaign. And we can't do this alone. We need to continue to organize the community. So Cheryl and others, if you want to join their group, when's the follow-up meeting in District 7?
It's the follow-up meeting for this one, for District 7. You need to come to our Block by Block Organizing Network meeting, which will be at the North Oakland Senior Center on the first Thursday of June.
So that's the 6:30 North Oakland Senior Center, the first Thursday in June, and then they're going to break out by district. So this is for the young people. So whoever gets this gets to have dinner on the field after a game with the baseball players. So this is Jelaine Newsom Noble. Jelani, I'm sorry.
That's the piano player.
Oh, it's the piano player. Okay, all right.